fully vaccinated people could still get COVID-19 and transmit it to others.
Everybody knows that.
Well, did you know
from the beginning, the FDA told the president the vaccines don't provide permanent protection and there's no data showing they stop transmission?
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. Making sure that you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anybody else.
All three emergency use authorizations for the 3 COVID-19 vaccines admit the exact same thing, that after a thorough or comprehensive evaluation of available safety and effectiveness information by FDA career scientists, data are not available to determine how long the vaccines will provide protection, nor is there evidence that the vaccine prevents transmission of SARS-CoV-2 from person to person. In addition to the publications by the FDA and the CDC, President Biden knew from personal experience that the COVID-19 vaccines did not provide lasting protection or prevent transmission from person to person, because for some strange, inexplicable reason, he seemed particularly susceptible to contracting COVID-19, having contracted it 3 times after he was fully vaccinated. COVID-19 posed almost no risk to children, and the mRNA vaccines did not prevent transmission of the virus from children to adults. But President Biden began vaccinating 5-year-olds.
Today is a great day for American parents and American families and American children. We've taken a giant step forward to further accelerate our path out of this pandemic. After months of rigorous and independent scientific review, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, authorized, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, recommended the COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 through 11.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, maybe it is stupid, but it's also dumb.
28 million more young Americans are now eligible for the protection of a vaccine. As soon as next week, we'll have enough vaccine and enough places. We've already secured enough vaccine supply for every single child in America ages 5 through 11.
Biden's administration eventually progressed to vaccinating infants as young as 6 months old. The CDC knew the vaccines didn't provide lasting protection or prevent transmission of COVID-19 from person to person. And yet President Biden and his administration pushed an experimental vaccine on our nation's infants and children by falsely exaggerating the risks posed to these groups by COVID, while misrepresenting the vaccine's effectiveness and their potential side effects.
Now the trucks don't work, they just make you worse.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Liar! Liar!
How about making sure that you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anybody else?
You are a bald-faced liar.
I'm moving forward with vaccination requirements wherever I can.
Why would you do that?
We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated co-workers.
Are you stupid or something?
What an utterly stupid thing to say. The vaccines are supposed to protect the vaccinated. That's their job. Although he knew the vaccines didn't work, President Biden tried to force them on federal workers and the civilian population.
President Biden is requiring tens of millions more Americans to get vaccinated. The president is ordering nearly all federal workers and employees of contractors that do business with the federal government get vaccinated within 75 days, eliminating their option to be tested instead of getting shots. Employees who refuse could be punished, even fired.
If you want to work with the federal government and do business with us, get vaccinated.
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart, and I want respect.
The president's aggressive new plan requires vaccinations for 17 million healthcare workers at hospitals and other sites that receive Medicare or Medicaid funding. President Biden's now pressuring private companies, too, directing the Labor Department to require businesses with 100 or more employees ensure their workers are fully vaccinated or provide a negative test each week, a move the White House estimates will impact 80 million Americans. Companies that do not comply could face fines, the White House anticipating lawsuits.
Well, no shit.
Today, Mr. President, marks 1 year since the first doses of COVID vaccines arrived here in Ohio. Your vaccine mandates have suffered some setbacks in court recently. Federal judges have halted 3 of those COVID vaccine mandates. Are you going to back down, or are you going to continue to fight those in court?
I'm going to continue to fight those in court. Look.
To justify his forcing of vaccines on the American people, President Biden first turned to a propaganda technique used by the Nazis and slaveholders in the Deep South, called othering. Othering involves attributing negative characteristics to people or groups that differentiate them from the perceived normative social group. Othering is a way of negating another person's humanity. People who are othered are seen as less worthy of dignity and respect. On a larger scale, it can play a role in the dehumanization of entire groups of people, which can then be exploited to drive changes in institutions, governments, and societies. It can lead to persecution, denial of rights, or even acts of violence.
So, Mr. Big Evil, why do they call you Big Evil?
Because my evil's big.
President Biden systematically othered the unvaccinated to dehumanize them, deny them their political rights, and subject them to societal pressure.
So this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, not the vaccinated, the unvaccinated. That's the problem. And so everybody talks about freedom and not to have a shot or have a test. Well, guess what? So how about patriotism? How about making sure that you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anybody else? What about that? What's the big deal? What's the big deal of having to take a test once a week to know you can show up to work and you're not causing other people to get sick or your children at home?
Even after it became apparent that the vaccines were not effective at preventing infection or stopping transmission, President Biden continued to other millions of Americans by claiming there was a pandemic of the unvaccinated who overcrowded the hospitals and hurt the national economy.
But this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And it's caused by the fact that we still have over 70 million Americans who have failed to get a single shot. The vast majority of Americans are doing the right thing. 3/4 of the eligible have gotten at least 1 shot, but 1/4 has not gotten any. And in a country as large as ours, that's 25% minority, can cause an awful lot of damage, and they are causing a lot of damage. The unvaccinated overcrowd our hospitals, overrunning emergency rooms and intensive care units, leaving no room for someone with a heart attack or a cancer operation needed to get the life-saving care because the places where they would get that care are crowded. They are not available. The unvaccinated also put our economy at recovery at risk, potentially slowing economic growth, costing jobs. The refusal has cost all of us. The refusal to get vaccinated has cost all of us. And I'm moving forward with vaccination requirements wherever I can. So the time for waiting is over. If you break the rules, be prepared to pay. And by the way, show some respect. The anger you see on television toward others doing their job is wrong. It's ugly. This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Lies. All lies!
Biden's relentless and systematic othering of the unvaccinated further divided and weakened America, just as President Biden intended it to.
Second piece of my plan is continuing to protect the vaccinated. For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated.
Having first systematically othered the unvaccinated, President Biden felt comfortable even trying to destroy the unvaccinated who had risked their lives to help their fellow citizens.
As many as 1 in 3 emergency responders in some cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, right here in Baltimore, are refusing to comply with city vaccine mandates. I'm wondering where you stand on that. Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. By the way, the mandates are working. All the stuff about people leaving and people getting it, you have You have everyone from United Airlines to Spirit, all these airlines. We're not going to get all 96, 97% of the people have gotten the vaccine. All the talk about all these folks who are going to leave the military if they're mandated. Not true. You got about a 90-some% vaccination rate. Those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on. Freedom.
Remember when President Biden said,
"You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations."
if the vaccines keep people from getting COVID, how is it possible for the unvaccinated to kill the vaccinated with COVID? President Biden knew the mRNA vaccines did not stop transmission of COVID-19 or provide lasting protection. But on July 21st, 2021, he said,
"If you're vaccinated, you shouldn't wear a mask. If you aren't vaccinated, you should be wearing a mask."
Biden's direction to the vaccinated to remain unmasked was not based on health science. It was based on his desire to visually differentiate the unvaccinated he was trying to other and subject to societal coercion.
So it's going to get a little bit tight in terms of, well, are mom or dad being honest that, Johnny did or did not get vaccinated? That's going to raise questions. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see this work out in ways that people are going to know in the community. Everybody knows in the community whether or not Johnny really did get the vaccination when he's 15 or 17 years old. And so I think it's a matter of community responsibility, and I think you're going to see it work through.
Biden's masking recommendations were not based on health science of the CDC. According to the CDC, vaccines are not 100% effective at preventing infection. Some people who are fully vaccinated will still get COVID-19 infection. Fully vaccinated people who do become infected can transmit it to others. Therefore, fully vaccinated people can further reduce their risk of becoming infected with SARS-CoV-2 and transmitting it to others by wearing a mask indoors. Fully vaccinated people might choose to mask regardless of the level of community transmission. CDC recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to schools, regardless of vaccination status. Biden's masking directions didn't come from the health science of the CDC. They appear to come from the political science of some of history's worst oppressors. On November 22, 2021, the FBI, the federal agency chiefly charged with defending the civil rights of the American people, othered every single one of its own employees who sought a religious exemption from vaccination by requiring them, but not the vaccinated, to wear a mask in FBI space. Dr. Fauci and the Biden administration knew from the beginning there was no data showing the mRNA vaccines they mandated stopped the transmission of COVID-19 from person to person or provided lasting protection. Despite knowing this, Fauci conspired with the president to violate the civil rights of millions of unvaccinated Americans that President Biden had systematically othered.
I asked Dr. Anthony Fauci about the president's sweeping new requirements.
There are a number of people, for one reason or other, who just do not want to comply and get vaccinated. We've got to get them vaccinated. And hopefully they will do it willingly. If not, there will have to be things that will essentially put pressure on them, such as you're not going to work in this particular agency or institution. You're not going to be able to go to this college or this university unless, in fact, you get vaccinated. And I believe that once we start doing that, you will see more and more people willingly get vaccinated. We are in a situation now, we have about 70 million people in the United States who are eligible to be vaccinated who have not gotten vaccinated. We've really got to get to those people to get them vaccinated.
So the messaging around the vaccine is clearly not working. Does there need to be a new approach, a new way of tackling vaccine hesitancy?
Well, certainly we want to continue the outreach in a positive way to get trusted messengers in the community. But you reach a point where you have to do something more than that. And that's what President Biden is doing with mandates of some sort, varying levels. The problem that we're having in the United States is that locally the governors are pushing back on mandates and are suing to prevent us from doing the mandates. But we believe strongly that at the federal level, what the president has done is entirely legal.
Would you like to see the mandate go even further, perhaps to travel and to smaller businesses as well?
Well, that's on the table. Whether or not requirement for vaccination is going to be across the board on travel is on the table. It's being discussed. But now that we have vaccines such as Pfizer that's fully approved with the stamp of approval, a number of local businesses are clearly going to be mandating, saying that if you want to go to this business, you want to work in this corporation, or even what we're seeing a lot of now, if you want to attend this university or this college, you've got to show proof of vaccination. So we're going to be seeing more and more mandates at the local level. Well, we hope so. We hope we can do anything possible and everything possible to get people to be vaccinated. All of these things that we're talking about, people don't like masks, they don't like restrictions.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
The easiest way to put that behind you is to get vaccinated. It is a very easy, clear-cut, documented solution to the problem. So that's the reason why we're trying to do everything we can to get as many people vaccinated as we possibly can. There are 100 million people in this country who are eligible to be vaccinated who have not been vaccinated yet. We've got to get to those people and make sure that one way or another we get them vaccinated. The most preferable way, Joe, would be to try and get to them through trusted messengers, people that they trust. We could end this outbreak in this country. We have the tools to end it. We just need to utilize those tools.
And by the way, show some respect.
You will respect my authority.